a sleek, unmistakable air of intellectual superiority and absolute disdain for the mission it had been given. "Sign the treaty with humans?" Lorax muttered, staring at the instructions on its console. "With spit and a ball? This is beneath me." But Lorax had no choice. The treaty required a DNA exchange with Earth's most advanced species, spoiler humans, via a highly bizarre practice, placing a ball in one's mouth and coating it with saliva. Out in the middle of space, Captain Zack pulled out his phone and held it up. "First selfie with an alien." "History made," he said, clicking away without a second thought. As Lorax floated out of the ship, confused and a little annoyed, the flash from Zack's phone blinded it. Lorax's reaction was immediate and dramatic. "What is this? An attack?" It screamed, its skin flashing red in panic, assuming the flash was some kind of hostile signal. Before anyone could clarify, a satellite, probably lost after orbiting for years, came crashing out of the sky and collided with Lorax's ship. The force sent the spacecraft tumbling through the air, spinning out of control like a malfunctioning carnival ride, before it crash-landed directly in the middle of an amusement park. At the park, James and John, two Chinese men working at the monkey exhibit, saw the flaming wreckage and decided to investigate. James, ever the opportunist, scratched his chin and said, "John, I think we've just discovered an exotic South American monkey." John squinted at the wreckage. "Yeah, looks like a monkey, but it's weird." Without missing a beat, they pulled Lorax, unconscious and still a bit sparkly, from the wreckage. James leaned over and, without hesitation, yanked the glowing headband off the alien's head. John stared at it. "What do you think this thing does?" James shrugged. "No idea, but it looks expensive. Let's put it on. Let's get this guy trained up for the show, James. We'll make a fortune." John grinned. "Think of the ticket sales. People will pay big money to see this monkey." The alien stirred, blinking in confusion. Meanwhile, back in the American embassy, Agent Stockton was staring at a series of blurry photos transmitted from the alien's headband. The photos showed places that appeared to be famous landmarks: Moscow's Kremlin, the Eiffel Tower, the pyramids of Giza, but something felt off. Agent Korgel squinted at the images. "Hold on, these are fake landmarks. That's the replica Kremlin at a theme park in China." "Who cares?" Stockton snapped. "We've got to catch the alien. It's only a matter of time before the world figures out that America is the chosen one to lead humanity into the intergalactic future." James and John had made their decision. They would train the alien, Lorax, to be the star of their show. James and John were hard at work, trying to train Lorax to perform simple tricks. They started with basic commands, getting the alien to toss a ball, do a simple handstand, or even just balance on one leg. But every attempt was met with confusion or stubborn refusal. Lorax didn't understand the point of performing and seemed to take offense at the idea. Each time they tried to guide it through a new trick, it would either stare blankly or awkwardly fumble the task. James and John exchanged frustrated looks. Turning an alien into a circus performer was proving far more difficult than they'd imagined. The alien, Lorax, finally regained control of its headband, and with a sudden surge of telekinetic energy, objects around James and John began to lift into the air. A chair floated past James's head, narrowly missing him. A nearby lamp began spinning like a top. John?" James said, eyes wide. "I think we might have just made it mad." Lorax hovered menacingly before them, its eyes glowing with an eerie intensity. "You will perform for me now," it intoned, clearly enjoying the chaos it was creating. "And you will sign the treaty now." It tossed a small, gleaming ball into the air, catching it with an effortless flick of its mind. "Place this ball in your mouth to seal the deal." James stared at the ball, completely lost. "Wait, you want me to eat this?" Before he could clarify, in a moment of panic, he fumbled and swallowed the ball whole. Lorax's eyes bulged with horror. "No, you were supposed to place it in your mouth, not ingest it." With Lorax distracted by its own frustration, James and John scrambled for a new plan. They quickly decided the best way to handle a superpowered alien was to, what else, get it drunk. Several bottles of vodka, rum, and anything else they could find later. Lorax was slurring its words, wobbling around, and generally doing a pretty good impression of a very tipsy extraterrestrial. Believing they had successfully knocked it out, they dumped the alien into a tub of alcohol to preserve it, planning to sell it as the galaxy's first ever alien specimen. But things took a turn when the Armenicans arrived, eager to collect the alien. In a panic, James and John dressed their performing monkey in Lorax's suit, hoping no one would notice the difference. The monkey, dressed in the alien's clothes, was passed off as the real Lorax, and the two men were whisked away to the Armenican embassy. There, the Armenicans interrogated them about the alien, with all the seriousness of intergalactic diplomacy. James and John, now deep in their con, played it cool, talking up the alien's customs and the fine art of treaty negotiation, while the monkey sat quietly in the corner, completely unaware of the gravity of the situation. At the embassy, James and John nervously signed the treaty by licking a small sphere to imprint their DNA. The monkey, disguised as Lorax, sat nearby, disinterested in the whole affair. The Americans, oblivious to the trick, congratulated them and sent them on their way. Back at the lab, a forensic scientist examined the ball and found a mix of monkey, human, and, oddly, feces. Realizing they'd been duped, Stockton immediately set off to capture the two men. The chase was on. Meanwhile, James and John returned home, only to discover that Lorax had mysteriously resurrected, fully recovered from its alcohol-induced stupor. The alien, now furious, confronted them, demanding the treaty be signed immediately. As they tried to reason with it, the Americans burst in, also hell-bent on capturing the alien for their own purposes. A chaotic final battle erupted. Lorax, using its telekinetic powers, sent objects flying, furniture, dishes, even a few stray books. The room turned into a whirlwind of destruction as the alien's rage intensified. The Americans, caught in the crossfire, tried to subdue the alien, but were clearly outmatched by its abilities. After the dust settled and the wreckage of the battle was finally still, both the Americans and the alien vanished without a trace, leaving James and John standing in the ruins of what could only be described as a very bad day. Thinking they had narrowly escaped certain doom, they decided to do what any reasonable con artists would do: drag the alien's lifeless body home and plan to sell it as the most bizarre intergalactic specimen in history. But the alien's eyes snapped open with a terrifying whir. Lorax slowly, dramatically sat up, its glowing eyes fixed on them with pure, unfiltered rage. "You two impossibly foolish humans," it hissed. "You really thought you could just sell me like some cheap souvenir?" James and John froze, eyes wide in horror, both of them silently calculating their odds of escape. Spoiler alert, they weren't good. Just as James and John braced for the worst, Lorax suddenly burst into laughter, its glowing eyes twinkling with amusement. "You too," the alien chuckled. "I've seen galaxies of crazy, but this was chef's kiss." It flicked a bottle of whiskey toward itself, still grinning. "You've got guts. I've actually grown fond of you two idiots." James and John exchanged confused looks. "Wait, so you're not going to kill us?" James asked, half relieved. Lorax waved it off. "Nah, I'm done with that. I'll sign the treaty. But first..." It telekinetically whisked away every bottle of alcohol in the room. "You tried to get me drunk after all." James sighed. "Well, at least we weren't probed." John stared. "Wait, you didn't get probed?"